Hey man, what's up? What's happening? You already know who it is and what it is. It's your boy Nephew Q, here to give you another episode of Conversations with Q. Here to give you my 2 minute rundown about things going on in society, sports, entertainment, culture, and everything in between. But before I do that, I need everybody to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel Conversations with Q, or download and listen to the podcast on all major podcast streaming platforms. Now let's get right on into it. Let's talk about the controversy that's got the sports media world in a chokehold right now, which is Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and the WNBA. Now, this past Saturday, I don't know if you guys paid attention, there was a huge matchup in the WNBA that featured two prominent rookies, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, as the Chicago Sky faced off against the Indiana Fever. And in that game, Caitlin Clark, she got checked by a player from the Chicago Sky, and it's caused a lot of controversy as to the physicality of the play that has been exhibited towards Caitlin Clark. Now, this is my take on it. America has to be honest. First and foremost, before I get into the specifics, America has to be honest. This whole Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese thing stems from it revolves around race. Like, we got to stop, you know what I'm saying? Like, trying to hide it and talk over it and mask it. Like, it is what it is. You have a predominantly black league in the WNBA, and you have this media darling in Caitlin Clark, who is white, and she comes in. Now, don't get it twisted. Caitlin Clark can ball, so it's not like, the media is, trying to put her on the pedestal and she can't really hoop. Like, Caitlin Clark can ball. Let's not get it twisted. But let's also stop acting like race isn't a large component behind the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese situation. Now, the Chicago Sky lost against the Indiana Fever, but the point is that people are saying that Caitlin Clark is being targeted by players. No, she's not being targeted. She is just paying. She is going through what every rookie has to go through in MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, every major professional sport league. Every rookie who comes in that is a high profile rookie with a lot of accolades, a lot of achievements, these people want to see if you really about that. They want to test you and see if you really are who you were in college. Let's see if that translates over to to whatever the profession is. And that's all that's really going on. And people are talking about the physicality. It's not any more physical now in the WNBA than it has been before. If you're just now tuning into the WNBA, it may shock you as to how physical the women are playing, but they've always played like this. The only difference is now it seems like players are more aggressive towards Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, which they are not. And so people are taken aback. Now, a lot of people are also taken aback by the fact that, Angel Reese is having this physical play done towards her, and nobody is backing her in the major sports media. But every time something happens against Caitlin Clark, there seems to be a controversy around it because you have a white player and a black player who get into it. And basically, that's what it really boils down to. And is she bringing Caitlin? Now, there's also been a lot of controversy, people saying, oh, well, people wouldn't be watching the WNBA if it wasn't for Caitlin Clark. That's true. She is bringing a lot of attention to the WNBA. Like, let's not get it twisted, because she had such a huge following in college women's basketball that is translating over to the WNBA. People want to see her perform against the professionals, but let's not also slight the other high-profile rookies that are coming into this great WNBA season from a great rookie class. You have Cameron Brink from the LA Sparks. She won a national championship with Stanford her freshman year. You have Camila Cardoso, who just came off a national championship with South Carolina, an undefeated season at that, who playing for the Chicago Sky alongside Angel Reese, who also has a national championship in college with LSU. And then you also have the young lady for Lisa Pali, I think that's her name, who plays for the Minnesota Lynx. She's bringing a Polynesian culture to the WNBA. You know what I'm saying? And she has a large following as well. So we also need to make sure that we highlight other rookies who are doing well in the WNBA. And we need to get out of this whole adage of, oh, well, these players are just jealous of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Are players jealous of them? Yes, but that's not the story to be told, because not every single player in the WNBA is jealous of the attention that Caitlin Clark is getting and Angel Reese is getting. I think, to me personally, I think it's great for the WNBA of all the coverage that they're getting lately because it's bringing more eyes to the sport. But also, let's make sure we also point out and look at teams like the Phoenix Mercury, who right now I think are 8-0, and I think like only the eighth team in WNBA history to start the season 8-0. You have the Las Vegas Aces, who are two-time defending WNBA champions with the best player in the league with Asia Wilson, and who's a two-time league MVP, and they're trying to go for a three-peat. Like, there are other storylines. You have the New York Liberty with Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Nishko. Like, there's Sabrina, who competed against Steph Curry in the NBA All-Star Weekend three-point contest against Steph Curry. Like, there are a lot of great players in the WNBA and a lot of other good storylines to follow in the WNBA. And I'm glad that people are finally paying attention to it, albeit the reason why they're paying attention to the WNBA. But I'm glad they are. And for some people, they still can't get into it. They think it's boring, and that's cool. Like, at least you try to check it out, but it just wasn't for you. But at the same time, let's get back to Caitlin Clark. Is she a target? No. You know what I'm saying? I just think that she's going through what every rookie goes through, which is you have to pay your dues. You have to prove yourself as a rookie. They're not going to coddle you just because you're Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and you have this name. They're not going to just lay down and just let you do whatever you want to do in the W. No, they're not. They're not. No league is built like that. And then also, people have to understand, Caitlin Clark is not a victim either. Like, let's not get it twisted. Caitlin Clark does a lot of times where she throws rocks and hides her hands. If you watch some of the plays, if you go back and watch the play that happened on Saturday between the Chicago Sky and the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark hit that girl in the throat with her elbow and then talked shit to her as she was walking up the court. Now, what you seen when she retaliated against Caitlin Clark was the result of that. And because of that, people only see. It's like in school. Right? When somebody hits you and then you hit them back and the teacher catches you and you get in trouble and you're like, but how don't they hit me first? And the teacher's like, no, I caught you. That's basically what's going on with Caitlin Clark right now. Is Caitlin Clark sometimes, not all the time, sometimes she's starting some of the shit and then the person retaliates and then the other person gets caught and then Caitlin Clark is like, what? I ain't even do that. And then the sports media gets a hold of the retaliation and thinks that people are targeting her and she's a victim. No, that's not totally true. Like, she holds her own, but she also starts a lot of shit too. But anyways, let's move on to our next topic, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if you guys paid attention to this story, but they found 10,000 human remains. Now, for this story right here, it's crazy. They found 10,000 burnt and crushed human skeletal remains littered around an 18-acre farm in Indiana of a serial killer, Herb Bowmister. Is said to have killed at least 25 people from the late 1980s to the early 1990s. The report revealed that Herb used to hunt mostly gay people in Indiana's Westfield, where he lived on an 18-acre property called Fox Hollow Farm. He was married with 3 children. The remains were originally found in 1996, were mostly of teenage boys and young men who he had abducted and murdered between 1980 and 1990. Now, how in the fuck did this dude seem to have and bury all of these human remains around his property while also being married with 3 kids? Now, I'm glad that they finally caught this guy. The investors found DNA from 4 profiles, bringing the victim count up to 12. But the fact that they found 10,000 human remains on this guy's property is... these remains were burned bodies were spotted by Herb's teenage son, the report mentioned. Later, his family cut off ties with him after they found out that he was a serial killer. You think so? After 10,000 remains were found on this guy's property, you think this family's still gonna have his back and support him and whatever else that he's doing? And the remains were identified through an extensive forensic gynecology investigation conducted by the FBI. The remains were identified as belonging to Jeffrey A. Jones. Jones was reported missing in August 1993. His last known address was Fillmore, Indiana. For this dude right here, Herb, wherever you at in the world right now, I hope they throw you underneath the jail cell. I hope they throw you underneath the prison. I hope they throw you underneath the ground and then build another prison on top of wherever your human remains may lie. But anyways, let's move on to another topic that's I don't know if you guys have seen this, but in Massachusetts, There's a fifth grade teacher, and her name is not been released to the public just yet, but she held a mock slave auction in her classroom. But not only did she hold a mock slave auction in her classroom, she doubled down and decided to, that's not enough. I need to read you guys a book and insert a racial slur in the book that's not even included in the book. Now, a fifth grade teacher in Massachusetts, she had a mock slave auction and used a racial slur in the classroom and has been put on at paid administrative leave. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Now, she held the mock auction in January during a history lesson on the economy of Southern colonies. The superintendent of public schools, Gregory Martinu, said in a letter to parents, during the lesson, the teacher asked two students sitting in the front row of the classroom who were of color, and the class discussed physical attributes, including teeth and strength. And in April, so she did that in January. Then she doubled down, came back in April. The same teacher read a book to the classroom that was not included in the core curriculum and used a racial slur that did not appear in the book while doing so. Now, I got a question. Y'all remember a couple of weeks ago or maybe a month ago where a teacher got fired because he let his students take down his hair in class? He got fired, ladies and gentlemen, because they weren't doing anything. I don't know if you guys seen the picture circulating on the internet. If you haven't, go look it up. But he was literally just sitting at his desk, and the kids seemed like they were enjoying it. It seemed innocent and harmless. He was just letting the kids take down his hair, his braids. He got fired for that shit. This lady held a mock slave auction, used a racial slur in a book that it wasn't even in there. Not only that, used a book that wasn't even in the core curriculum. And yet somehow, some way, she's on paid administrative leave. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, why is this even a discussion anymore? Like, you have evidence of this lady doing two things that do not belong in the classroom. And yet she's on paid administrative leave. But yet my guy was just having his hair taken down by his students and he got fired. Come on, man. What are we doing? But anyways, moving right along, I want to talk about a magic man, Mr. David Copperfield. Now, Mr. David Copperfield, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the most world-renowned magicians in the world. But he allegedly has been caught making things disappear where they ain't got no business disappearing. Now, all of these are allegations against Mr. Copperfield. Now, most of these are, historic accusations have been made before, and all of them are false as of now. And this is what his attorney is presenting. The allegations are that they were underage girls at the time of the incidents. One woman alleges she and her friend were drugged before David Copperfield proceeded to have sex with them without their consent. The article featured accounts from some women who had previously gone public with their allegations, while others were gone public for the first time through interviews through the publications. Now, these allegations, they span 4 decades, from the late 1980s to 2014. More than half of these women say they were under the age of 18 at the time of the alleged incidents. Of those who said they were underage, 2 of them said they were 15 at the time. Man, that shit's crazy. Now, some of these women, one of the women that were 17, one of the former contestants alleged David Copperfield drugged and SA'd her in the month after the competition, at which she was 17 at the time. Look, SA is a really, really big deal, but I'm gonna just keep it a buck here on Conversations with Q. If they can go back with Bill Cosby and go back to the 60s and 70s and have these women say that, he put, stuff in their drinks and he drug and essayed them, then we need to do that same type of treatment to David Copperfield. We need to go dig up in his past. We need to go back to all of these, span these 4 decades, find these women, get their testimonies, and see what happens from there. But man, we need to do some heavy deep diving into Mr. David Copperfield if all of these women are coming out with all of these allegations. But anyways, let's end the show on a good note where we have the NBA Finals set to kick off this Thursday, where you have the Boston Celtics versus the Dallas Mavericks. Now, in this matchup, if you haven't been paying attention, they played twice during the regular season, with Boston winning both of those matchups. Now, in both of those matchups, Kyrie averaged 21 points per game, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He shot 41% from the field and 28% from the three, which if you know anything about basketball, you know that's not really good. And then Luka against the Boston Celtics this season, he averaged 35 points, 15 rebounds, 12 assists, shot 47% from the field, 39% from the three-point line. Now, during this whole NBA playoffs, heading into the NBA Finals, Luka is doing something that has never been done before, which he leads in 3 categories. He leads in points, rebounds, and assists for all teams and all players heading to the NBA Finals. Not just his team, but all teams. He scored 489 points in the playoffs, got 164 rebounds, and has 150 assists, which leads all players heading into the NBA Finals. And also, if you're trying to figure out who you want to, pick in this NBA Finals, who to put your money on, let's look at some of the statistics. Points per game, the Mavericks average 108. The Celtics average 114. Rebounds, they both kind of the same at 43. Assists, Mavericks average 22 assists, Celtics 23. Field goal percentage, Mavs 47%, Celtics 48%. Three-point percentage, Mavs shoot 37% from the three, Celtics 36% from the three. I've been going back and forth. Also, in those 2 games that they played during the regular season, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, they went off against the Dallas Mavericks, as Tatum averaged 35 points, 9 rebounds, shot 53% from the field, 40% from the three, 85% from the free throw line. Jaylen Brown chipped in with 29 points per game, 5 rebounds, and shot 57% during the regular season. So my pick for the NBA Finals is the Dallas Mavericks will win 4-2. Kyrie gets his second ring. Luka gets his first ring. Kyrie gets his ring without LeBron James and saying, I can win without LeBron James. And of course, the Boston Celtics go back to the drawing board. Also, before I get out of here, this upcoming weekend, if you into the movies, make sure you check out the new Bad Boys movie, which comes out this Thursday. Also, if you are a fan of the Power series, Power Book 2 Ghost is on its last season, season 4. So we see what kind of trouble Tariq can get into. Man, I'm actually kind of sad because I fucks with Power, all of the Power shows. And Power Book 2 Ghost is one of my favorite shows to watch. So I'm going to be sad that, this is the end. Hopefully the stars comes to their, senses and picks this up for another season, man. Because I would love to see this story continue to roll on. But anyways, I've already taken up too much of your time. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Conversations with Q. Make sure you download the podcast on all major podcast streaming platforms. I'm up out of here. And as always, treat somebody how you want somebody to treat your mama. I'm up at this thing, y'all. Peace.